Welcome to the OLIP Therapy podcast. Today I'm joined by the incredible Adam Stansbury, who's been with OLIP around 6 months now and is having incredible results with clients. And today we're going to dig down to Adam's unique approach and just learn what Adam does to get those phenomenal results at OLIP. Adam, thanks so much for coming down on this Saturday. I know you've been working with clients this morning.
Yeah.
Your background is in fitness and health and nutrition. Can you tell me a bit about that?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I was a personal trainer for 15 years. Won awards.
Wow.
Won Gym-Based Personal Trainer of the Year at the National Fitness Awards in 2013.
Wow. Didn't know.
I started working, first of all, in London, worked around some amazing personal trainers, learned a lot from them. Then I went down south to the coast, worked for an amazing organisation down there called Winners 2000. We won a couple of awards while I was there for 2 years. And then I came back to London because I was missing the buzz and the opportunity of being in London.
I can imagine.
And it was in those last couple of years, 2018 to 2020, when I started to realise I was having lots of incredible conversations with my clients, deeper conversations about life and what's going on behind the scenes for them, the habits and behaviours. I started to realise that at least half of the session was taken up by these great conversations, and that was the part of the session I was enjoying more.
Okay.
And just started naturally to become more interested in the mind than the body.
Yeah.
The body had been my obsession for like many years, and then the mind kind of took over, and I went on my own journey of self-discovery, personal development, and sort of spiritual seeking and growth, I guess.
Can you talk me through that? What happened? What led you down that path? What did you learn?
So I mean, I remember I went to a dinner party with, there was only 4 of us at this dinner party, we were just friends, and we were having these really deep conversations about the universe and life. And I remember, and I left that dinner party and something had shifted in me. There was this feeling that I'd always been having those conversations, but I'd also couldn't remember the last time I'd had one. It was a really odd sort of moment. And then I then started looking into Eckhart Tolle. He was the first sort of spiritual guru, I guess, that I found, and a lot of his work really resonated with me. And actually, funnily enough, a lot of his methodologies and teachings are what I kind of incorporate into a lot of what I do.
Okay.
Now as a hypnotherapist.
Talk me through that. We're talking about the power of now and that sort of work. What have you taken from Eckhart Tolle that you kind of apply with your clients?
Been working with a lot of people around anxiety, but conditions that ultimately stem from anxiety. And the power of Eckhart Tolle's teachings is the power of now, the present moment. And how when you bring yourself into the present moment, back into your body, you give your mind something else to focus on, and it brings you out of your head and out of your mind. And I realized that, anxiety is the anticipation and the fear of the future, and depression is the rumination of past events. And the common thread between the two of them is an error in your thinking. Essentially, it's overthinking. So it's not just the thought that you're having, it's the thinking about the thought that takes people into this sort of spiral that then creates a lot of their anxiety. And once you bring someone quite simply back into their body and to focus on the sensory human experience, it gives their mind a new thing to focus on.
Okay.
And so it's no longer focusing on the thought.
So what would you say is the difference between, say, mindfulness and Eckhart Tolle? Is there a difference? Is there a crossover?
I think they're a blend of the two. Mindfulness, for me, mindfulness is the conscious awareness of the present moment, of what's going on in you right now in this moment, and what's going on around you. It's being mindful of that moment, I think, for me.
So you're a trained hypnotherapist.
Yeah.
How do you use hypnosis with clients? If there is such a thing as an average session with clients, how do you use hypnosis with your clients?
Yeah, sure. So I always say to clients, I prefer to call it therapy hypnode, because Although you're giving someone hypnosis, it's, a third or a quarter of the actual time that you're spending with someone. And the first part of the session is spent having therapeutic discussion, and I'm speaking to clients, I'm asking them questions that relate to the topic that we're working on that day. And it brings thoughts, memories, reflections to the surface that are then fresh in the mind, so that when you're going through the hypnosis at the end of the session with them, you've got something for the sort of subconscious mind to work with or let go of.
So is that more analysis type hypnotherapy or suggestion therapy? So you're saying you're bringing thoughts and ideas up and then applying hypnosis to those areas, or is it kind of going back and bring stuff from childhood, etc. up? What would it be the difference?
Can kind of be a bit of both. So I like to, I'll meet a client for the first time. We do an initial consultation, ask a lot of questions, get a lot of information about their case, their history, how it affects them in their lives, how they interpret things, whether they're a visual person, auditory person, or kinesthetic. Then we create something called their special place. So we get a deeper understanding of the place that they go to that's maybe real or imagined, that brings them a lot of peace and harmony. And that's almost like the place we take them during the hypnosis session, so that you can kind of unpack and look at these different aspects.
What sort of issues have people come to you with that you've helped? Kind of fears, phobias, or can you give me some idea of some of the topic theme areas of that you've helped people with?
Yeah, sure. A lot of, again, like I said, a lot of anxiety or conditions that have anxiety at the heart of them, but lots of flying phobias of bridges,
Incredibly common.
heights, some weight management stuff, which also feeds into my background as a personal trainer and nutrition coach. So I'm able to offer a little bit more kind of coaching advice alongside the hypnosis as well. Confidence. I've worked with a lot of people around confidence. I love working with people around self-discovery. The transition periods in life, when people are sort of going through endings and stepping into new beginnings, helping them to find meaning and purpose again. That's what I'm really passionate about. But so
what are your thoughts on like Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning? I know we've spoken about it before. Do you have any thoughts, or do you do any work around meaning and its importance for somebody?
I think that's at the heart of the questioning. Like depending on what they've come to me to work on. If they're at a transitionary point in their life and at the right moment, then questions will be tailored around what's important to them, what their values are, what their passions are, what experiences and opportunities they want to have in their life moving forward. And just a lot of this, with the hypnotherapy, it's about shining a light on something. And I always say to people that the awareness you bring to something, that's the start of the healing process. And the more you start shining a light on an issue or a problem and bringing more deeper awareness of the issues, it's almost like it starts bringing it up to the surface for it to be kind of let go of or worked on.
Can you drill down? That's so interesting. Can you drill down to that a bit more? What you just said about shining a light on something. How do you do that with your clients?
Yeah. So we talked before about how a client will be 5-6 sessions into like a treatment plan with you, and they'll be like, my issue seems to be going, and I'm just really not sure why. And then when you kind of ask them why they think that might be, and then you start unpacking the fact that they've done 6 hours of therapy with you, you've taken them through multiple hypnosis scripts, you've given them reflective homework to do after the session. And then actually when you sort of start laying it out in front of them, they sort of realize that actually they've been bringing a lot of intention and attention to different aspects of themselves. And it's through that consistency, the process and journey you take someone on, that the program, the things get ironed out for them, the rewiring of the subconscious happens. So I sort of say to people, it's a sort of a 3-pronged approach, really. You've got the session that they come to see me for, and the therapeutic discussion that we have. And then we have the hypnosis scripts that may be 15 to 20 minutes of the session towards the end. And then the third prong is the homework, the reflective homework. And it's super important that that person comes to you with the intention of wanting to change. Like, that's the most important aspect of it. And the more diligent and active and they are with the reflective homework that I ask them to do, those are the clients that get the best results and that has the most impact.
I know you're one of the therapists that actually give recordings to clients, which is lovely. It's great that you do that. What sort of, by homework and reflective work, can you drill down to that a little bit so anybody watching this can understand? Because I think there's a lot of still mystery and mystique about hypnosis, which is wrong, because actually it's such a therapeutic tool. Talk me through the sort of reflective homework that you asked, because I think the word homework maybe needs to be rebranded, doesn't it?
Maybe, yes. I mean, it might be a trigger for some people, At the start of a process with someone, we might go through what we call ego strengthening. Might be in one of the first sessions that we do, and that's usually around building a base level of foundation of self-worth, building up their feeling.
And how do you do that?
Calm and confidence. There'll be a specific script that I write that will speak to these qualities that you're wanting them to reaffirm within themselves.
Yeah.
And so I might record that session and then send that to them. And that will be part of their reflective homework, to listen to it on a nightly basis before bed for the next week until I see them again. I might also ask them to do some reflective journaling.
Okay.
What anything came up for them, any insights that they've got from that audio, how they felt maybe the next day, what their sleep's been like afterwards. And it's always quite dependent on what the case is you're working on. I might also take someone through like a parts therapy session, which is a very kind of active and engaging session with a client. So they're not under trance as such, because you're asking them things throughout the session, and they're giving you feedback, verbal feedback.
Like conscious belief.
Yeah.
Talk about parts work. Sorry.
I was just going to, so in that session, I wouldn't give someone an audio because of the way the session is formed.
Sure.
The reflective homework that I would get them to do is actually reflecting on the two parts of themselves that we brought attention to and how they feel that's interacted with them during the week. So those are the kind of things that I get people to do. Or maybe if we do some inner child work, get someone to go back to some past memories in their childhood. So reflective homework for that might be writing a letter to their younger self.
Okay.
And giving their younger self kind of comfort and words of wisdom that they might have wanted to impart on them.
Do you do hypnosis for inner child work as well?
Yeah, it will be within the script, the process that I take someone through,
So you actually ask somebody to physically write that letter, and hypnosis, or two separate things?
The hypnosis script that would take someone through in the session would be taking them on a journey back to specific memories for them to maybe look at, but from a distance, be an observer, so it doesn't re-traumatize them. And then the reflective homework after that session, because you've brought a lot of things up to the surface into their consciousness about the past and the memories and how they feel about that now. And then by getting them to write a letter to their younger self, it's like they're putting an arm around the younger self that didn't have the opportunity to be maybe comforted at that moment in time. And so it's almost like you're closing the gap and you're making them whole again, so that they can embody that younger version of themselves, which might have felt quite disconnected up to that point.
I think from my experience, the inner child work is some of the most powerful. But it has to be very carefully managed. And I love the idea of journaling. That's a lovely idea. Talk about parts work, because there seems to be different agreements about what parts work is. Well, what's the parts work that you do?
I love it. These sessions are so interesting and fascinating and powerful as well. When someone's usually suffering maybe from some kind of addiction or a pattern of behavior that's conflicting, there's an inner conflict that's going on, and it speaks to maybe these two different parts that exist within the person. There's the intending part, which is the part that wants to move on and is the more positive, if you want to call it, part.
Yeah.
And then you have the kind of the conflicting part that is the negative habit or behavior that's preventing, or the preventative part is preventing them from moving on. And usually the preventative part, although it might seemingly look like it's something negative on the surface, actually there was probably a point in the past where that preventative part was actually serving a purpose, and usually trying to protect the person from something or another. But they might have latched onto a certain type of dysfunctional behavior like alcohol or drug abuse to cope as a tool. And so what you're doing in a parts therapy session is asking the client questions to bring awareness to these two different parts that exist within themselves, create a dialogue between the two parts, and then for them to come to some kind of agreement as to how they can move forward.
How does that dialogue take place in your sessions?
Yeah, so I mean, I'll be talking through a script, and I would be asking the client, I would be asking that part.
So is this done in hypnosis?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and it's really interesting because I had it done to me when I was learning the techniques. And in a parts therapy session, you can actually be totally alert, totally awake, just with your eyes closed. But because the therapist is bringing your attention to these different aspects of yourself, and because you're in a really relaxed state, you're able to, there's a level of access that you have that you're able to be very aware of and not feel like you're in trance. And I found when I was learning the techniques myself, when I was connecting to these two different parts, it was almost like there was a different tone of voice that was coming through me when I was expressing the feelings of this part and then the other part. And they were almost like these two different versions of myself that had quite different personalities, and that kind of was coming through. And it's really fascinating. And then the goal is to then have these two parts communicate to each other, come to a conclusion that they're there to serve the greater good of the client, and then for them to ultimately come together and to be fully embodied into the client. So you're trying to make the client whole again, so they don't feel like they're separate. They've got these two separate, conflicting parts of themselves.
It's similar to the approach where you have different parts in your hand and you bring them together into the whole, which is a very powerful technique. When somebody's choosing a hypnotherapist, what suggestions would you give as somebody who's been through the process to look for? Who's the right fit? What kind of tips would you give somebody to, that's the right person for me?
I think aside from obviously qualification, if you want to do the practical side of things first, I think obviously they're qualified, but they've got insurance. Maybe they're registered with an organisation. Like I'm registered with the National Hypnotherapy Society, so that's a good port of call. That kind of means that they're a legit hypnotherapist in the first place. And then I think it really comes down to a sort of feeling, maybe if you've got something specific that you'd like work on, maybe you want to find out if they've got any experience working with that. But then I think it really comes down to the vibe in a way that you get from the person. If you feel comfortable in their presence, are you going to feel comfortable opening up? Because ultimately, the deeper and more you can open up, the deeper layers you can go through together on that sort of journey, and the deeper level of work and healing that you can do.
Let's go back to journaling.
Yeah.
How is it welcomed by all of your clients? Do some are more reserved about taking that approach, or is it something you find that people really enjoy doing?
Some do, some are resistant to it.
Okay,
totally, some people it feels more natural to. Some people might do it and they've never done it before, and they realize how kind of powerful it is. And I also sort of say to them, look, this isn't homework for you to bring into me and for me to mark. This is actually for you. No, whether you do it or don't doesn't matter to me. This is part of the reflective process for you. So you taking a piece of paper out and journaling your thoughts and feelings on it, it's not benefiting me, it's actually benefiting the process that we're in. It's kind of reaffirming the work that we're doing. And so I'm always sort of say to clients, this is such an important part of the process, and it determines the level of impact the sessions will ultimately have on them. So So yeah, the journaling, the reflective journaling, the audio work, it's all a really important part of the process. And it's just the more consistency you can create to the messaging, in someone's subconscious over a period of time, it takes hold. And,
I love that.
And we say to clients, there's not a light switch. You don't come to one session and think you're going to switch on, switch off. Sometimes I can have an incredible impact in just one session, but a lot of these, a lot of these behaviors and patterns are things that people have been programmed with over years, and they're going to take a little while to unpick.
Let's say on that topic, let's say you could only work with somebody for like one session, be that 1 hour or 1 hour and a half, say. What would you do? Like, is there a universal that you would do with somebody? Because obviously, a lot of things take a lot longer for different clients. You've only got one session with somebody, and it's an hour and a half. What would you do?
Yeah, I mean, I would say first of all, it's very much dependent on what the case is.
Let's say it's anxiety.
Okay, so if it's anxiety, then I would probably spend the first part of it doing some breath work, some breathing exercises.
Which we haven't spoken about.
Yeah, some sort of sensory, I've got a great sensory meditation that I give to clients called Coming to Your Senses.
Okay.
And it's a very simple process of helping someone to move from their mind into their body.
Yeah.
And so what I always say to clients is that who come with anxiety, I can give you some tools and techniques to help you navigate in the short term your anxiety, and then we can use the hypnotherapy to work on the long term, deeper reasons as to why you have this sort of condition. So if it was anxiety, we go through these. I teach them these techniques. It would help them to come out from their mind and into their body. And then the hypnotherapy or the hypnosis side of the session, I would focus very much on creating a sense of peace and calm. Take them on a very calming journey.
Just listening to you, I feel calmer. Could we do a brief breath work kind of exercise now? Would you mind doing that?
Sure. So there's box breathing is one that I like teaching to clients. So what Navy SEALs use. It helps to create more focus. It's essentially breathing in for 4 seconds, holding for 4 seconds, breathing out for 4 seconds, holding for 4 seconds, and so you're breathing in the shape of a square. Yeah. So that's really effective. But one I've started using more recently with clients is something called cyclic sighing.
Okay.
So you're breathing in through your nose, and then just at the top, you're topping up. So you take an extra breath, and then all of your focus is on the exhale.
Okay.
And there's been some studies done to say that cyclic sighing or this style of breathing is more beneficial than just meditation alone for reducing sort of anxiety. And
so it's a big breath, and then you top it up with a bit more, and then you just let go.
Yeah. And it's the focus on the out breath that stimulates more of the parasympathetic nervous system. Yeah. So it's creating a more calm. Whatever you do, essentially what you're doing is taking the mind off whatever it's thinking about and placing it on the process that they're in. So when I'm doing this, I'm focusing on, first of all, the breath there, then the breath there, and then the breath there.
It's like a pattern interrupt.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. So if you get someone to do 10 breaths like that.
I was going to ask you, how many breaths would you do? Yeah.
10 breaths is fairly good. And I think it's something actionable for them to take away and do at any point during the day when they're feeling a bit anxious or stressed.
Can we do 5 now?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are we going to do box breath breathing or?
Why don't we do, let's do the box breathing first.
Okay.
And then give you maybe a sense of
four.
Yeah. So you're going to breathe in for 4 on 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold 1, 2, 3, 4, and out 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold 1, 2, 3, 4, and in 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold 1, 2, 3, 4. Out 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold 1, 2, 3, 4. In 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold 1, 2, 3, 4. Out 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold 1, 2, 3, 4. You can see then
Lovely process. Isn't it funny already? Just it's such a simple thing.
It's like a clock ticking.
Yeah.
Like we have clocks in the office.
Yes.
So that when I'm working with a client, I'm looking at the clock and the rhythm with the second, putting the hand as it's going.
What's the other breathing technique again? Remind me.
Cyclic sighing.
Sighing.
Yeah. So we maybe do 3 of those as well.
Please.
So we're going to breathe in through the nose and then top up and then focus on the out breath slowly, as long as it takes you. And then into the nose you're doing, and then top up, and then out through the mouth, slowly. And then in through the nose, top up, and out through the mouth.
Lovely.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of the Wim Hof breathing. And,
Yeah, I do that myself.
yeah, and I know there's a box breathing app, which is available that I've sometimes used, which is free, and it's a great little app to do to remind you to.
Totally, yeah.
Yeah. So how often have you done the Wim Hof breathing?
I'm doing it for myself quite a bit. Well, I do holotropic breath work, so it is using the Wim Hof style 30 breaths. I do it lying on my back, and it's a sort of in through the nose, breathing through the belly, then into the chest, and then out from the mouth. So really deep breaths, 30 times, holding on the out breath after 30, drawing in and holding for 15 seconds, and then repeat 3 or 4 rounds.
And as you say, one of the great things about that is while you're doing that, particularly if you're doing I do the big breath hold at the end.
Yeah.
You're not thinking about anything else because you can't, other than I'd like to breathe.
That's it. Yeah,
that's fantastic.
And this is why I find it so powerful with clients. It literally immediately, if someone comes with and they're looking quite distressed emotionally, or you can see the anxiety.
So there's powerful techniques to use immediately. Let's go back to that one-off session I spoke about. Because we kind of got sidetracked with the lovely breathing exercise. So you teach them breathing exercises. What else would you do? Would you do hypnosis session?
I really have quite a deep conversation with them about their thoughts and their thinking, and like how anxiety comes about, and essentially saying to someone, although the thoughts might seem important to you, they're not real.
Yeah.
They don't exist in this reality. They just exist in your mind. And the more you think about them, the more you find yourself in this loop of thinking. And by doing these techniques and focusing on the sensory experience, you're giving your mind something else to focus on. And then suddenly that loop of thinking that was incessant suddenly sort of disappears and dissipates.
It was just so good to be reminded of. We've covered so much today. I wish we had more time. Thank you for doing the breathing exercise. Really enjoyed those. Again, you've had phenomenal results with our clients at OLIP, and some of the reviews have just been outstanding. And it's lovely to see somebody producing high quality recordings that clients can have. So thank you for that, and for being part of our amazing team. Let's come back again sometime and dig in deeper to some of the things that there's so much we could cover. I love that you're involving kind of Eckhart Tolle and kind of that mindfulness approach, because we lose track of really in our modern world, our minds are often elsewhere, aren't they? So
to me, people with anxiety, I think if someone's sat in front of you with a lot of anxiety, then you need to give them something that they can use in that moment.
Yeah.
Because I don't think the hypnosis is going to benefit them immediately. You need to get them into a state where they can almost accept the hypnosis, and so giving them a short-term tool that will work for them before you work on the longer-term stuff, I think complements the two really well.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming down. Thank you for watching, and join us again when Adam will come down and we'll dig a bit further into some other topics. If you've got any questions, send us an email and we'll dig into those on another podcast, hopefully. And have a great day. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for coming down.